Right guys, what is up and welcome back to a brand new video here today and another episode of my AOR Apex Online Racing League content here on the channel. And this is round 4 for the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. If you guys missed the last episode at Silverstone, you can go watch it by clicking the link in the top right hand corner of the screen to go see exactly what happened in my home race at Silverstone. But today we are here at Japan, and I want to mention guys, this race I actually live streamed this on my Twitch. It was the first ever league race that I streamed live. If you guys want to watch the next race this Sunday at 8 PM UK time, then you can go follow me on Twitch guys, link down below in the description. I'll be streaming the race on there, so hope you guys do tune in for the broadcast, and hopefully fingers crossed we can do well and have a little bit of fun around it this weekend. I believe it is the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, but this is the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, and this is round 4 of the season, and it's one of my favourite tracks in the calendar, my top 2 along with Spa in terms of my favourite tracks, and I'm really looking forward to it. Either way, first of all we're going to tackle qualifying, in which there is some rain expected, and then we'll jump into the race. In terms of qualifying though, we're going to see how we get on. One of the rare wet sessions, I believe it's our first wet session of the season in terms of AOR, so it's going to make things quite tasty. And to be fair, the conditions were very intriguing because it was too wet for the dry tyres and too dry for the wet. So let's check it out and let's see how we get on here in qualifying. Here we are then jumping into qualifying, and straight away you can see on screen there was actually rain in this session, but the conditions were very awkward because the track was kind of too dry for the inters, but very close or a bit too wet for the dries. It was all about whatever compound you felt most comfortable on at the right time, and I played it safe at first. I went out on the inters and I kind of realised straight away here, you can see through the S's we kind of get sideways, and I'm pretty much doing Tokyo drift through Suzuka. And this kind of confirmed to me that the track was just a bit too dry for the inters, but it was possible to make them work. I did finish the lap. We backed off pretty much to try and cool the tyres down. We went 7.7 off the pace, but everybody above us pretty much was on dry tyres, which was already kind of a telltale sign as Jake goes P1 on soft tyres with an even faster time. I still went for another attempt though, as we got a backwards racing point here on dry tyres out of turn 2, so again confirming that the track too wet for dryers at points, but also, you know, it's just depending on how you're comfortable. And currently we're on another lap. You can see my tyres though, they're absolutely on fire, bright red on the back. Either way, we did do a purple sector 2. We was about 2.5 seconds off the pace though, so I decided to box in, strap on the dry tyres and go for another attempt. This one, of course, on the dry tyres, and straight away I could feel this was the right tyre for me. The track was a little bit more on the dry side as the session progressed at least, and it was definitely the soft tyre the way to go. You can see him making our way through the S's, a lot more grip. The delta time going up as we get past the McLaren there, who was on a slow lap. Kizniak currently P1 in the Haas as we make our way up through the Dunlop. This was the real test, and where I could really notice the grip as we're nearly 2 seconds up as Balazs Kevin goes P1 in the Red Bull. He was really fast. He was fast in the last race in Silverstone, and he was fast today, but unfortunately for us we ran a bit wide through Degner 1 and pick up an invalidation, and we did go purple as well, and the lap was looking good. We did 2 purple sectors. I kept on pushing just to get an idea as to where the pace was, and had we crossed the line we would have been pretty much identical with lap time with Marco Tanitza, who eventually took P1. Either way, we also boxed in, abandoned the lap, saved the tyres for the race, and it was all or nothing on this final lap. And I'm going to leave you guys with the raw audio of the lap here, but this was my all or nothing lap attempt here at Suzuka.
Just 30 seconds left in the session.
And here we go then at the final corner, past the pit entry, keeping it nice and tidy under acceleration. Purple sector 2, and we go second place, 2/10 off Michael Tanitza, and we do get it onto the front row with our very last attempt. And you know, on the buzzer we do get a lap in, and eventually nobody else actually improved, and it was myself and Michael Tanitza on the front row, and a really solid qualifying for us on the front row once again, just like the last race in Silverstone. 2 front rows in a row, no pun intended, and no intention of rhyming that whatsoever, but we do get a second place start for the second race in succession behind Michael Tanitza, who once again gets P1, Ballas Kevin P4, Korsak in P3. We're right up against it with the big boys here. The 3 around me, I believe, are the top 3 in the championship, so we're right amongst it, and we're looking good for the race, starting of course alongside the championship leader. We've got Jake in 5th, Kizniak P6, Scrip P7th, Zenaim in 8th, then it's Padlo Futes P9, JSR running up the top 10, Robert P11, Blims in P12, Carbon 13th, Boomsong K in P14, and then Dax in 15th, and then Scally, who is my teammate. He's of course Hungarian, and actually his name translated to English means sky, so from now on I will be referring to him as Sky. That's my teammate's name, and he's starting from P16. Unfortunately, he had a qualifying ban, and the reason for that was of course for exploiting track limits at the last race in Silverstone. He got sent to the stewards, and the stewards deemed him to be disqualified for excessive track limits abusing basically, so he's going to be starting from the back of the grid. So hopefully he can try and fight his way through on a different strategy, possibly with the free toss guitar. He can try and make it work and get himself in the race, but we're going to be starting with the front row, and there is your grid here for the Japanese Grand Prix. But now let's get racing here in AOR Japan. Right, so here we are then for the end of the formation lap here as we get ready for the start of the race at Suzuka. We are going to be going for a soft medium strategy in terms of the tyres, boxing around lap 10, maybe lap 9 or lap 11, depending on how the race pans out, how our tyre wear is, and what other cars around us do in terms of overcuts and undercuts. But also fuel-wise, about 1 lap and a half extra fuel, quite aggressive and quite a lot of fuel, because obviously this is quite a slipstream heavy track, so we're going to need the extra performance. But here we go, we're going to get ready for the start of the race in the 5 red lights here at Suzuka, and it is lights out and away we go. And it's a phenomenal start off the line and really get the traction down, 0 wheel spin, and we absolutely just fly off the line and get past Tanidza. A little bit surprising in a way. I may think there's a bit of lag there because we got by a little bit too easily for my liking, and also nobody behind seemed to got as good of a start as I did. So this was the first indicator. If you look at the title of the video, of course, this was the first indicator that something wasn't quite right in the lobby, because I felt like I got away a bit too easily for my liking. Even still, it was a great start from us, 0 wheel spin, which was really, really good, and we hit the front here at Japan, and we started to open up a gap and pull away. Tanitza behind us has an issue. I believe he got half spun at Dunlop a couple of corners back, and he's now dropped down the order, so we have a bit of a gap here to Korsak in the racing point behind us, and if we can try and pull away, this would be really, really good for us in terms of our race pace, because if we can get the 1 second gap when DRS is enabled, we should be okay out in P1 here on lap 3.
Race officials have enabled DRS. DRS is now available.
And we do have a pretty good gap to Korsak. He is trying hard though to keep fighting and try and stay in that window. Currently though, as we go on to lap number 4 here, this is when it started to happen again. You can see on the screen, we do set a purple lap and Korsak beats it, but no notifications appear at the top, in the middle of the screen. And there was more proof of this a few laps later as we go through another start finish line here. You can see another personal best, but no notification on screen. So again, I was a little bit worried here. And then it also started to happen in terms of my racecraft. So I thought here I cut the Degner. I didn't get a warning for it, so I thought to myself, oh, that's weird. I thought I cut it. I got a bit lucky. And then another one here. This time we don't cut the corner, but the Degner 2, the second one, I run a bit wide on the exit, and I thought I would have got a warning for that. But again, nothing given. And at this point, I was getting a bit worried about it. Either way, we cut on to lap 9, and I was going to set up for 1 more lap, but the guys behind started to put the pressure on. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to box. But again, no notification of the speed limit, and I'm going in blind. Luckily for us, I can tell you we hit the speed limit in time, and we didn't spin to the pits. So very good stuff from us there, but I was very worried that I sped into the pit lane. Again, more proof that the notifications were not appearing on my screen. I had to box for mediums because Korsak was putting the pressure on behind us, and also Kevin was really, really fast in the Red Bull. He got past VSR Jake into 3rd place and was catching up.
Up to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
Yeah, and we're going to try and get up to speed straight away on these and try and get to work. We've got Jake behind us, and he pit a lap before, so that was the reason why I boxed as well. He was on the undercut in the Toro Rosso behind us, so I had to respond and cover myself, which I did. We're now behind Carbon in the McLaren, and we get a really good run out of Degner too, and of course the fresh tyres really helping out. And we're going to go side by side up to the hairpin, the Kobayashi curve as I like to call it, as we go around the outside. Can we make the move on Carbon here? We get a nice bit of traction using the fresh rubber, and we make our way up to P6, and we get past the McLaren there relatively easily. And Carbon, nice fair racing, giving us some space, and also he doesn't really challenge the speed, which I greatly appreciated at the time. We're now behind our teammate Sky in the other Mercedes. Of course, he had a qualifying ban starting from the back of the grid, so he is on the hot pursuit of the guy in front of him. I believe a Haas it might be, not quite sure. Either way, he's all over the back of him, and my teammate Sky also on the medium tyres. He hasn't pit yet, of course, so he's yet to box, and he's going to try and look for a move here into the Casio triangle. He goes to the inside. It's a really nice move on the brakes, and he just clips the Haas there. I might be wrong. He has to back out of it, though. Luckily for him, the Haas boxes, and he also does the right thing, and he moves over and makes it very easy for me to go by. Of course, playing the teammate role really, really well. We're on different strategies as Kevin there in the Red Bull rejoins the track, and we just get out in front of him, so we reclaim and net P1. Robert in P2 is yet to pit, of course, in the racing point as well, and I believe the other guy up front is Boomsong K. So things looking good in a minute on lap 11 as we make our way through the S's, and the pace in the car feels really, really good, and I'm really, really happy at this point. We've got our teammate behind us. He can try and protect the gap and, you know, keep the guys behind us. We've got a yellow flag here, and it's Robert in the racing point who's gone off, so that's going to be a P2, you know, gift wraps for us, and no effort whatsoever as we now cut onto lap number 12 here. We are going to set a personal best, and I think what should have been our fastest lap, but again, no notification on my screen, and then this is where the race took a really bad turn for me, and where the bullshit struck, basically, as we make our way through here.
Virtual safety car, reduce speed immediately and keep a positive delta.
The VSC came out for some reason, and I had no notification on my screen, but I was so shocked by it and so confused, I didn't look at my delta in the top right as we exceed the time limit of 15 seconds.
Okay, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
And at this point, I thought that message actually saved me from speeding, but it was too late. We was about 21 seconds in total, 6 seconds over the limit.
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC ending. Wait for green.
And again, no notification of it. We just have to look at the delta, and we do get back on the way. So I knew I didn't exceed the VSC time at least, but I didn't know if I had a penalty. I thought I got away with it because I didn't get any message straight away saying I had a penalty, but then on lap 14, this happened.
If you don't take the drive-through penalty this lap, you will be disqualified.
And of course, it was because I unfortunately sped for more than 15 seconds when the VSC came out. I had no idea of it. Like I said, I was streaming at the time, and I was more shocked by the fact that I had no notification. And again, I have no notification here into the pit lane about my speed limit, and I thought I sped once again. I knew I was going to find out the hard way, basically, so I just had to hope and pray that I didn't speed, rejoin the track, do my laps, and I'd probably get a notification in about 3 laps time when I have to pit again, about speeding the same way I did just now. You know, we sped on lap 12, we got the notification on lap 14.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
And yeah, that was kind of what I was hoping for, to be honest with you. And at this point, it was just, okay, you know what, we're P11, let's just get a head down. A few cars still have to pit, so we're still in the race. And then on lap 16, someone in my Twitch chat mentioned to me that if you pause the game, it fixes the issue. And suddenly you can see on screen now, we've got our notifications back, and they're all updating at once. So there's the penalty from before, there's the fastest lap from Kevin, who's currently got it, and there's the DRS enabled twice from lap 3, and then once again we're enabled after the VSC. So suddenly it all fell into place for us as my teammate Sky was in the pit lane along with Carbon in the McLaren, so we jump up to 9th place, and at this point I was just focused on, okay, 10 laps to go, let's get the pace up. There's Boomsong K, he was just ahead of us before we pit for our drive-through, so he's now on fresh soft tyres, and it's going to be very hard for us to get the measure of him, of course, because he's on a much quicker compound. Cutting onto lap 18 though, we're going to try and get the hammer down, 1/10 off our personal best. We're going to try and keep that pace up and try and go lap after lap after lap and see how fast we can go as Boomsong K sets the pace in the Red Bull, and he's kind of the target at the moment. You can see the gap is now over 3 seconds. He's really getting on with it and pulling away. And we now move on to lap 19 because he's overtaken Pablo Futes in the Sauber, or the Alfa Romeo, shall I say, and Pablo is 3 seconds up the road. So I started to get the hammer down and really start the push here onto lap number 20. We 2/10 off the personal best.
They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 11 laps old. The time last lap was a 1 minute 32.3. You're gaining by 8 tenths. 8 tenths. They have a time penalty of 3.0.
And there is the valuable information and the key intel as we get very loose at the final corner on lap 20. Setting a personal best though and trying to keep the pace up as we jump up to 8th place. Michael Tanitza was behind us. I believe he had to pit, so we got given another position here and we're now 8th place in this race. But Pablo Frutes now, we're on the back of him on lap 21. I was driving like a man possessed and we got ourselves onto the back of him as we now make our way flat out through 130R into the Casio triangle, and I had a lot more pace than the Alfa Romeo, so I wasn't too nervous about the move. I just waited for the right time and the right opportunity, wait for the DRS on the pit straight as we get a fantastic exit out of the final corner, open up the DRS.
We're not going to be able to run in this engine mode much longer. We're about a lap over target. Drop down to mix too soon.
And there we go, around the outside of turn 1. Very nice move, and just using the engine mode to get by as we jump up to 7th place. And we then move on to lap 23. We set a personal best once again. That will end up being my best lap of the race, I believe, up until the last lap, if I'm not mistaken. And now I was focused on cars in front of me. So Boomsong K, you can see in front of us, he overtakes Kislyak for P5.
They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 15 laps old. The time last lap was a 1:31.7. You're closing by 4 tenths per lap.
And unfortunately, Kislyak does not have a time penalty. I was hoping he did because my pace was good. The gap was 4.3, and even though I'm about a second off my personal best, I'm much faster than Kislyak, and I was really flying. His tyres, I believe, were starting to go, and you can see the gap coming down on the top left, really coming down a lot here. With 2 laps to go, I was pushing like an absolute madman, just hoping he would get a penalty, really, and we get gifted a P6. You can see now the gap is 2.7 going on to the last lap of the race, and you know we've got it inside 3 seconds, which is all we can do. So now if he does get a penalty, we will get given that P6 as Kevin wins the race for Red Bull. And of course, we would have been battling him, so it would have been interesting to see who would have come out on top. Either way, he's going to take the win here today, and we're currently on for a personal best. You can see Kislyak, we've caught right up to the back of him, and one more lap, and I may have got him. Either way, we're going to cross the line here, and the gap in the end was 1.6, and that's how much we caught up in the last couple of laps. We match up personal best, and had Kislyak had a penalty, we would have got P6, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. And looking at the final race results, then we got Kevin who picks up the win, and Korsak was behind him, 3 seconds time penalty added on. So you know, looking at the race in review, if I hadn't won, it would have been P2 easily. So it's disappointing because I had the pace for it, and it could have been at least 2 second places in a row after the Silverstone race last time out. Unfortunately, we got it all wrong, and you know, it wasn't really my fault. Obviously, I know I did speed, but I didn't have the notification to tell me, so I was kind of fooled for a second there. I didn't know what to do. So you could say I shared the blame with the game. Either way, I feel like I got robbed by the game because you know I wasn't notified, and who knows about the pit stops. You know, again, I had to guess the speed limit, so all those little things I got right. So in my opinion, I did the best I could. But Zename rounds off the podium in 3rd place with Ferrari. Boomsong K, who of course rejoined right in front of us after the pit stops. He managed to finish P4 in the end on the soft tyres. Strippy with a penalty pushed down to P5, and Kislyak just in front of us. Now, unfortunately, he didn't have a penalty to his name. One of the few drivers who didn't have a penalty here today, and we come home in P7. So still a good recovery after we had a drive through, which is really good from us. Pablo Frutes in 8th. Michael Tanitza P9, the championship leader, only in 9th place. So we do gain some points on him, and we do narrow the gap to the top a little bit at least. So that's a small positive after today's race. And then Carbon in P10, rounding out the point scorers with JSR missing out the points along with my teammate Sky, who was in P12. He also got a few penalties added to his name. Not quite sure if he got some of those removed possibly. I know he went to the stewards after the race because of those penalties, so we'll see what happens there. But for now, he's P12. Robert 13th, and then it's Blims in 14th with Jake in P15, and then it's Dax finishing in P16. The only retirement of the race here today. I believe Jake may have disconnected if I'm not mistaken, but that is your race order, and we're now going to move into the championship standings. And speaking of them, Michael Tanitza is joint top with Korsak after that 9th place. Those two are joint at the top, equal on 64, and Kevin is only 2 points behind. So the top 3 covered by 3 points going into Monza, which is going to be an absolute slipstream fest, which is going to make things very, very interesting. Boomsong K, with that strategy, of course, gets himself up to P4. He overtakes me, so with that soft tire strategy, he manages to get enough points to overtake us. Unfortunately for us, we lose our 4th place, but still, for P5, we're in the mix. It's okay. It just means we are quite a way off the top 3. Had I got a 2nd place today, we would have really closed the gap, and we could have been in the 50-point territory possibly. So it is what it is. It is a shame, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. Pablo Fuentes, P6 behind us. We've got a 3-point gap to him. Then we've got Bruno Alves, who I believe is Kislyak, if I'm not mistaken, in the Haas behind them in P7. Skrippy in 8th, Waza P9, and Yeltek P10. My teammate Sky is currently down in P15, of course, with that unfortunate disqualification at Silverstone, but he does have 4 points, which is good. And then we've got 3 guys yet to score any points. But guys, that is going to be it for the AOR Japan race here today. Unfortunately, very unlucky. You know, that was a race win that got taken away, and I can't lie, it still stings. Even it's like 5 days later, it still hurts. But either way, if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a big fat like on it and subscribe if you are new. And like I said before, follow me on Twitch, guys. I'll be live streaming every single race over there, so if you want to watch them live, you can. And also, guys, turn notifications to not miss any content from me on the YouTube channel, as I upload every single day. Also, finally check out these 2 videos on your screen if you have missed them. But that is it from me here today at Suzuka, and I'll see you guys next time for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. But until then, it's goodbye from me.